All right, we're going to do a flip through of my Witchy Women's History journal that I made. Got the gorgeous cover and a little clip-on tassel with some beadwork on it and different laces and trims in there. The back of it is just the gorgeous fabric with the silver metallic on it. Alright, so looking at inside, our first page has a little mini journal about 1692. And it will actually give you information about 5 different women that were executed during the Salem witch trials. With the reminder of they didn't burn witches, they burned women. Tuck that back in there. And then it's going to go through and give different historical facts in chronological order throughout the entire journal. So you have 1776, the Declaration of Independence omitted women, some pretty journaling cards, and a little book. 1855, a black woman was legally declared property without the right to defend herself against her master's rape. Cute little tag with a dangle in there. 1900, married women were granted some control over property and earnings. Little coffin tag. 1910, women can wear pants. 1916, Margaret Sanger was arrested for opening the first U.S. birth control clinic, and Jeanette Rankin was elected the first woman to the member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Pretty little tag with a little dangle and a little bow on it. 1920, white women can vote. Different little journaling cards and tags in there. 1922, Florence Ellenwood Allen is the first woman elected to the state Supreme Court. A little envelope with a little book in there. And a little journaling card. A little butterfly and a little library card tucked in there. 1925, American Indian suffrage granted by the Act of Congress. 1928, Genevieve Rose Klein becomes the first woman to be a federal judge. 1913, Amelia Earhart becomes first woman and second pilot to fly solo nonstop across the Atlantic. 1933, Frances Perkins becomes the first female cabinet member to be the Secretary of Labor. 1936, judicial approval of medicinal use of birth control. 1938, minimum wage without regard to sex. 1955, Rosa Parks refuses to give up her seat on a bus to a white man. 1960, FDA approves the first commercially produced birth control. Little journaling cards in there. 1963, the Equal Pay Act promises equitable wages regardless of sex. I think we're still working on that one. 1964, Civil Rights Act passes prohibiting employment discrimination due to race, color, religion, natural origin, or sex. 1965, black women can vote. Got a little library card with a dangle hanging off of it. 1969, women can initiate divorce. Now, I will say, as we get further along in history, kind of after this point, I was more shocked how not long ago it was that some of these things came into effect. 1971, administrators of estates no longer restricted to just men. 1972, sex discrimination prohibited in education programs. 1972, unmarried women have access to birth control. Cute little tags in there, and I did leave some journaling spots, and of course all the backs of the tags and the journaling cards have journaling spots. 1973, Roe v. Wade, Supreme Court declares Constitution protects women's rights to terminate an early pregnancy, making abortion legal. 1974, housing discrimination and credit discrimination against women outlawed by Congress. 1975, women no longer excluded from juries. 1976, Supreme Court upholds women's right to unemployment benefits during the last 3 months of pregnancy, because employers tend to fire women when they got pregnant. 1978, Pregnancy Discrimination Act bans employment discrimination against pregnant women. 1981, husband no longer head and master of joint property, because until 1981, they had not taken out that terminology in regards to a household. Sandra Day O'Connor, first woman on the Supreme Court. 1983, Sally Ride becomes first American woman in space. 1984, sex discrimination in membership policies of organizations. Previously all male organizations now open to women. 1986, court rules hostile or abusive work environment is discrimination based on sex. They couldn't just be mean to women because they were women. 1988, a woman can own a business without a man. 1989, Supreme Court affirms the right of states to deny public funding and prohibit public hospitals from performing abortions. They made it harder to get them. 1993, until this year, a victim needed to show that they suffered physical or serious psychological injury for it to actually be considered sexual harassment. That is also the year that women received protection from marital rape. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg becomes the second woman appointed to the Supreme Court. Little journaling cards in here. 1994, Gender Equality in Education Act passed to train teachers gender equity, promote math and science learning for girls, counsel pregnant teens, and prevent sexual harassment. It is also the year that the Violence Against Women Act was passed to help victims of rape and domestic violence, give remedies for gender-related crimes, training for police and court officials, and help for battered women. 1997, Madeleine Albright sworn in as the first Secretary of State. 2000, Supreme Court, so that Violence Against Women Act that was passed in 1994, in 2000, they invalidated portions of it that permitted victims of rape and domestic abuse to sue their attackers. 2005, Hillary Clinton becomes First Lady to be elected to public office. Condoleezza Rice becomes the first Black female Secretary of State, and Supreme Court rules punishing someone for complaining about sex-based discrimination is prohibited. 2006, Supreme Court upholds a ban on partial birth abortion procedures. 2007, Nancy Pelosi becomes the first female Speaker of the House. Got a little dangle up here, and then a little envelope, little lady in there. It's got a house on it, Speaker of the House. 2008, Hillary Clinton was the first First Lady to run for president, and Elena Keeger, fourth woman appointed to the Supreme Court. 2009, Sonia Sotomayor, first Hispanic American and third woman Supreme Court Justice. And Hillary Clinton becomes the third female Secretary of State. 2010, The Affordable Health Care Act makes insurance companies provide birth control without copays or deductibles. And Ellen Keegan, fourth female to serve on the Supreme Court. 2013, the ban against women in military combat positions is removed. Get a little card in the little pocket. 2016, Hillary Clinton becomes the first female presidential candidate for a major political party. 2017, Catherine Cortez Masto becomes the first Latina senator. 2018, California is first state requiring women to be included on companies' boards of directors. And I was kind of shocked by these two. I was shocked by all of them, but in 2018 is the first year that female hygiene products were available to prisoners for free, as well as until this year, breastfeeding in public was not legally permitted in all 50 states. 2020, Coney Barrett joined 3 other women on the Supreme Court and is 6th woman to serve. Kachi Brown Jackson is the first African American woman and 6th woman appointed to the Supreme Court. 2021, Kamala Harris is sworn as the first female vice president of the United States. And Deb Haaland is first Native American woman to serve in a presidential cabinet. So 2022, Supreme Court overruled both Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood, determining that the Constitution of the United States does not confer any right to abortion. And then Executive Order 14016 did try to at least help with that situation and expanded access to contraceptives, reproductive health privacy, and help defend women who are charged with having an abortion. 2023, record number of women elected to Congress, although ironically 14 states implemented total abortion bans that same year. 2024, executive order strengthening and expanding research on women's health. I've got this pretty little tag with a little crow raven dingle. And then 2025, a new administration begins shifting federal priorities, focusing on restricting gender-affirming care and targeting federal funding for Planned Parenthood. And at the end, of course, it is 2026, and we have to fight for it all again. So women, keep standing up for yourself and keep collaborating with other women and moving forward to help women's history continue to be better and not worse. Thank you guys so much for taking a look at my Witchy Women's History Junk Journal.